Welcome to another scriptural study. In fact, a scriptural astronomical calendar study, in which we together as one will be now going over part 2, entitled Hanok's Waxing Moon, based on the writings of chapter 73. This is installment number 2 of the Hanok first video, the waning moon, and as requested, we are completing how to test and prove all things with Hanok's writings in creation. And we are going to go over 5 months of detail on how these writings are so accurate with the sun, moon, and stars. But as always, stop the video at any time because there is a lot of information, both scripturally and astronomically, that will be shared. As well, you want to focus on this information by stopping the video. Now, if you have a PC, that's great because these visual presentations are better on a larger screen. If you have an iPad or a mobile phone, not as good. But the solution is, in the description box, all of these visuals of this latest scriptural study video will be in, again, the description box. So stop the video at any time because we're going to go over the 3 witnesses of light, how Hanok described how they operated. Yes, the mechanics of the sun, moon, and stars that were created for signs, appointed times, days, and years, and based on the greater light that rules the day, the lesser light, the moon, to rule the night, with the stars, plural, not just one star, that helps us all everywhere on earth from the Father of lights to teach us to number our days, to bring our hearts to wisdom. So, again, if you have not already had the opportunity to observe the first installment, Enoch's waning moon, based on chapters 72 and 78, verse 8, then please do so, because there are still people out there, whether it's unconscious or consciously, regrettably attempting to create division, as some of them are saying that new moon days can be on different days. On this YouTube channel, the Bereans that we study with do not believe that. We believe new moon days are the same everywhere on earth. The Sabbaths are the same everywhere on earth. And obviously the feast days, let alone the work days. And again, we are not concerned with who is right, because pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right. And thus the reason we use all 3 witnesses of light with the sun, moon, and stars, which includes the scriptural writings of Moshe, etc., up to and including the writings of Hanok. So, if you're numbering your days per scripture, you'll be very well aware why the first day she is called New Moon Day. And on this YouTube channel, we have tested and proven all of the phases of the moon, and only the full moon works. So what we're about to go through, if you're just a lunar solar believer, this may not work out for you. If you are a lunar solar believer with a sunrise or sunset start with a first crescent or a last crescent, this may not work out for you. If you're a solar only viewer, this will not work out for you. Because again, we're going over the scriptural writings of Moshe, Hanok, and what can be tested and proven with the very first page of scripture with the sun, moon, and stars. So the first day she is called New Moon. Now, if you do number your days according to Scripture, you're well aware then that the second day of any scriptural first week is the first work day, day 2. Second work day is day 3. Day 4 is the third work day. Day 5 is the 4th work day. Day 6 is the 5th work day. And day 7 is the 6th work day, known as a preparation day. And the first Sabbath is the 8th. And then after that, 7 days later, is the 15th Sabbath, or the second Sabbath of any scriptural month. And then 7 days later, the third 7th-day Sabbath on the 22nd day. 7 days later is the 4th and final 7th-day Sabbath on the 29th day. Sabbaths are always on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th days, according to Hanok, according to Moshe's writings. It's always the same. So, if you understand the waning, the first scriptural study video we did, surrounding chapter 78, verse 8, and the 15 parts, you will understand why this works this way. And thus why you will understand Hanok's waxing or restoring of the moon in 13 parts that we can read in chapter 73, specifically verse 8, where the moon does indeed greet the sun at the dawn because the greater light rises upon her. And this is why this is called the lesser light. The greater light lights up the whole sky and rises upon her at the start of the dawn, Bakar, Shakar, first light, and all the way up to the end of the fourth watch, which is sunrise. So this is what we're going to go over with a focus on the 22nd day. Because today, I am narrating this video on the Sabbath. It's such a great rest to dive into the scriptures, dive into the mechanics of how the sun, moon, and stars operate on each and every Sabbath day. It provides so much light, and this is why we delight on the Sabbath, for the Sabbath, this gift that has been given to us. But if you approach this with the traditions of men, both the historical and archaeological record shares where the leaven is. The Egyptians had a sunrise day start. Both historically we can prove that, and from an archaeological standpoint. The Babylonians had a sunset day start. This is what we call the leaven. That leavens the whole lump. Because it gets people looking down at the horizon, not up. It doesn't look at the full face of the clock from the perspective of the face of the earth. And this is why we believe the prophet Zechariah in chapter 8, verse 7 stated, "Thus said YaHUaH, the Father of lights, the only self-existent one of hosts, see, I'm saving or delivering my people from the land of sunrise and from the land of sunset." Yes, Babel, that land of confusion. Because if you go with a sunrise or a sunset day start, you will be in a position to create chaos and confusion, and thus possibly make proposals that a new moon day can be on different days, Sabbaths, for different people in different parts of the earth, which, again, we believe is entirely scripturally and astronomically impossible. Again, we are to eliminate all of the pillars and sundials. We are to come out of Egypt in Babylon, Revelation chapter 18, verse 4, the traditions of men. So again, remember, the Babylonian calendar was a lunar solar calendar with years consisting of 12 lunar months, each month beginning when a new crescent moon was first sighted low on the western horizon at sunset. And again, the archaeological record and the historical record is very clear. Now, the mother of all manifestation movements, the second Babylon, the beast, if you will, the Roman Catholic Church, is a principality. And this manifestation movement does not mind if people all over Earth create different calendar systems rather than the one Hanok was talking about. In fact, they want to make sure you're focused on the obelisk, the sun pillar, the sundial at sunrise or sunset. And they make it even more chaotic with changing a calendar's date, the pagan Gregorian system, as some people call the beastly system, at midnight. And we'll get into that in this study because we do not have to follow a Nimrod. The heavens are proclaiming the esteem of the Almighty Father of lights, YaHUaH himself, the only self-existent one. And the expanse is declaring the work of his hand. Day to day pours forth speech. And night to night reveals knowledge. So again, we've got from the dawn, true day start. I rise before the dawn and I cry for help. The psalmist knew this. And then sunrise, midday, up to sunset, which is known as Shemesh. Both sunrise and sunset is Shemesh. And then we get into the Arab period, the evening. So at sunset, first watch starts, and we're in the evening period, all the way through the second and third watch. At the end of the third watch, a new day begins, the start of a scriptural day right here. Now, why am I showing this constantly? Because timekeeping is the action or process of recording how long something takes. So when you get into the sun, moon, and stars, you're actually measuring how the sun, moon, and stars move in unison to tell time. So all the way from the fourth watch, because this is when you can see the sun, moon, and stars in regards to the signs they create for any given month, and then all the way through the face of the clock, counterclockwise. Yes, YaHUaH's witnesses are wonders. This is why our being observes them. So, Shemesh, again, this is just pure archaeological and historical record fact. Absolute truth. It's been tested and proven over and over again. Shemesh is a Babylonian deity. Please stop the video, look at this link, and pull it up. You will be glad that you did, and you'll understand why Zechariah was saying we're going to be saved from this silliness, because it robs people of looking at all the witnesses. Now, some people say, well, Michael, you're a little too aggressive going, oh, the two orbs above the horizon. Well, I'm not being over dramatic. Again, the Babylonian calendar gave us a system known as Syzygy, or Syzygy, as some people would pronounce it. And it had people looking at the horizon. So today we have people from a sunset standpoint that do this, and then a sunrise standpoint. So we're going to get into the various ways it's being done, all the way up to including the folks that are lunar solar with a full moon. Again, it's horizontal. They're looking down. They're not looking up. Remember, the Messiah Yahushua, our only teacher, Matthew chapter 23, verse 8, etc., stated that the light is a light on a lampstand. And this light he was talking about was, we can read in Revelation chapter 21, verse 23, for the esteem of YaHUaH, the Father of lights, lightened it, and the Lamb is its lamp. It's a light on a lampstand. The psalmist even knew, your word, the Messiah, Yahushua, your representing the Father of lights, his word, his lamb, his firstborn of all creation, is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path for all of the people in the house. Psalm 119, verse 105. And again, a dawn day star, right? Hanok, as he stated in 78, verse 12. And the greater light, the light will rise upon her. Doesn't say two orbs. So at the dawn, if you get out at the dawn, it's a wonderful sight to behold. So the first installment was Enoch, numbering our days with Enoch's 15 waning parts of the moon. And as we shared, if you're using a jig, notice on the screen here, there's a conjunction moon. There's what they call a quarter moon. There's another one. And then there's the full moon. Notice they're out of sync. But people utilize this, whether they're crescent, first crescent, last crescent, conjunction, and full moon believers. They use this jig. Now, the good news is they're coming off the Gregorian, but they're still linked to the Gregorian with this squared view, if you will. Some people draw their own views. It's still the same process as this, but it's a jig, and it's very presumptuous as it creates problems. And we're going to go over that once again in 5 total months. It's really easy to prove if you number your days from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath. If you don't, with all the witnesses of light, then chaos and confusion does indeed ensue, and it's based on presumptuous ones. We are not judging anybody. We did the very same thing. It's a process. It's baby steps. And this is one of those steps that is predetermined. You're going to do this regardless if you like it or not. You're going to make this mistake, and many people go through it. Now, in the waxing moon, same scenario, because if you use these jigs, you're going to find out the embarrassing, inevitable effects of chaos. So again, we're not judging anybody who went through this, but think about this. Most of these jigs are based off this system, a Roman Catholic monthly view, and it's not from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath for the whole year, and it doesn't show the moving mechanics or the parts of the sun and how it moves, let alone the moon and how it moves and how it's restored. let alone how the moon rules with the stars every day, including new moon days. It doesn't show any of this now, does it? Doesn't use all three witnesses of light. So this is why we do this. We look at all of the evidence as it states from the psalmist. But again, if you don't get the start of a day right, you will then struggle getting the first day of any given scriptural month correct. You will have times, 2 to 3 times a year, where this will be quite problematic for you. And again, we went through this. So, and our Father of lights, the Almighty YaHUaH, said, let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. So again, dawn. This is where the light rises upon the lesser light. The greater light, remember, the greater light at the dawn, first light, it lights up the whole sky and rises upon the lesser light. And if you get outside, like this actual photograph happened on the past lunar eclipse that was upon us, it's a wonderful sight to see. There are signs, right? But they're rejected. They're rejected because of a sunrise and or sunset day start, which is extremely problematic. Stop the video now. Look at the Old Covenant witnesses. These are just but 3. These are ones from the renewed covenant when the Messiah, Yahushua, our only teacher, came into the set apart place and all the people were coming to him at the dawn. And why they came to the tomb just before the dawn, after the completion of the first fruit Sabbath. Not at sunrise, but towards the dawn at the end of a day. A day starts at the 4th watch of the dawn and goes around 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds to the next. Right here in a counterclockwise fashion with the stars. But all of this is being eliminated, being rejected because of this. Remember, Hanok did not state there was a 12-hour day. He stated a day had 18 parts. But this type of mentality, again, we're not judging anybody. This type of mentality has seeped into the actual consciousness of all world religions and those still associated to it. It's embarrassing. We were caught up in this because this system, non-Scriptural, non-astronomical system, does not allow the interpretation of Scripture to interpret Scripture. It removes everything, as we covered in these 2 scriptural study videos. So now on to the scriptural study. Because the first day is new moon day. For on that day the light rises upon her. At the dawn, it rises upon her from the 4th watch all the way to sunrise. And you can notice this till the sun rises over against her and the moon is seen over against the sun. Again, the moon rules the night before new moon day, with a set of stars for each month that are designated to it. It's a wristwatch. It's a wall clock, if you will, in the Shamayim. It's an app all to itself. And all of the scriptural witnesses match up to this. Moses' writings, Hanok's writings, etc., as we've covered in this first scriptural study video. So we're going to talk about the waxing moon now and how these jigs rob a person of not understanding the full restoration process of a waxing moon, as described in chapter 73. Because if you're presumptuous, you're not going to see this. You're going to use a jig, and it's going to be very difficult. And you're going to get into a challenge 2 to 3 times a year. So let's take a look at this a little farther with a jig. So as we can see, what's so embarrassing? Why is there so much mass confusion? Well, it's basically artificial. It's intelligence running on an artificial mindset. So in this world, the first day of any given month, if you're a lunar type of person in regards to understanding the purpose of the moon, the first day, NASA says it's the conjunction. Well, that's not true. Again, in this world, intelligence is not that common. Common sense is no longer common. People are having extreme trouble identifying a male and a female. Again, the AI we expected, we were told about artificial intelligence 30 years ago. and the AI now that a dog can be a cat. These are the types of things coming out of artificial intelligence. So I'm not jumping all over NASA as well. Again, humankind, regrettably, has decided that it is opposite. That new moon day starts with a conjunction. And all because of sunrise and sunset day starts. Take a look at this, because if you really study this out, you'll notice that if you are a first crescent moon believer, waning crescent, or the last crescent, notice most of them start their day on a sunset type of scenario. Then get into the conjunction moon believers. Some are sunrise, some are sunset. None of these three scenarios in this world today take the scriptural view of a dawn day start. None of them. They're all sunrise and sunset starts. All of them. Welcome to our artificial intelligence. And you do not need an app to figure this out. The historical and archaeological record proves all these things. So what we're about to go through is Hanok's first day. It's the full moon, a fully restored moon, when the greater light rises upon and restores this full moon, if you will. And we're going to get into this now with a focus on the 22nd day. We're going to talk about this and how you can use the app in the heavens just with your fingers in your hands. You can measure all of this. Remember, timekeeping is the process of measuring the movement of the sun itself, the moon itself, and the stars, and how they all work together as one to tell time. So notice something else. Starts off with the full moon, and then notice what the world calls this, the third quarter. But it's actually the first waning quarter, or half moon. And then we get all the way to the first waxing quarter. It's actually a half moon. Now, is it exactly 50% illuminated? Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to share how this works on the 22nd day right here. We're going to get into this. And at the end of the day, this process is being ignored from the writings of Hanok, because people do not see Hanok's writings in chapter 78, verse 8 with the waning piece. They don't see the 15 parts. And from the waxing standpoint to the restored full moon, they don't see the 22nd day in a certain light. And that is the purpose of this scriptural study video today with Hanok's waxing moon, because we can test and prove this. We have 5 months we're going to go through this year in this particular cycle, and it stands out wonderfully. So let's take a look at the 9 months this year. So there was some confusion and chaos in the 6th month and the 8th month. Now, some people got a little nervous, and I'm using 4 time zones. The PDT with the city of Anaheim, the CST with the city of Memphis, Eastern Standard Time Zone, the city of Barrie, where I reside, and then the SST, sunrise time zone, all the way from Singapore. Now, I use Singapore because it's exactly 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds from an astronomical parallax standpoint. It's perfect for me in regards to testing and proving where the sun is during a full moon and how the moon rules with a certain set of stars on each and every given month. Now take a look at this. Some people incorrectly stated that September 11th was New Moon Day, when in fact it was September 10th. Now how can we say this so confidently? Well, take a look at the 8th month. Some people incorrectly said that Wednesday, November 9th was New Moon Day, but in fact it was Tuesday, November 8th. A first day has a range. And notice it can be very close to the horizon, up to and including around 7.6 degrees. Whereas second day is double that, 13 degrees and then 12.1, as in the case of the CST time zone, and all the same with the PDT time zone. Take a look at my time zone. Notice, even though the moon was minus 0.60 degrees on Saturday, September 10th, the moon was at its highest restoration point at the 180 mark. We're going to get into what that means in a minute. The same with Memphis, the same with Anaheim. But people discount that witness. Now, we're supposed to be restored new moon believers. We walk in the light. But that's not always the case with a sunrise and sunset day start mindset, regrettably. And this is what causes the challenges, the chaos. They ignore these witnesses. Now take a look at Singapore. Even Singapore was minus 3.8 degrees below, but it was at its highest illumination of restoration. And this is why they had no problems identifying New Moon Day as in the 6th month as the pagan day of Saturday, September 10th, let alone on the 8th new moon on the pagan day of Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. This challenge usually happens in America, Canada, and United States. Overseas, it doesn't happen. So some people have told me, well, it's those Americans. Now, again, I'm Canadian and I'm included in that bucket. And I caused this chaos in the past as well, because I didn't look at all the witnesses of light. So again, the upcoming 9th month will be on the pagan day of Thursday, December 8th, commencing at the dawn in 2022. And the moon will be 6.0, back in line with the first day celestial event. 5.3 in the CST time zone. And again, all at its highest percent illumination. Restoration at the 180 degree mark. Same for me. But even though Singapore, it will be below minus 1.1 degree, it'll be 100% both at the dawn and even sunrise. So again, this is very basic to explain, and this is where the confusion happens, because people change the rules midstream. They get a little nervous. Oh, there's the sun in the 6th month and it's only 0.42. Meanwhile, if you got on a building, you'd see the moon greeting the sun at sunrise, even though that's not the end-all, do-all witness. The dawn is. So this is where the challenges are happening with some people. In fact, I've even have drone footage of a minus 0.60 degree moon greeting the sun at sunrise. So this 2 orbs above the horizon, remember, the sun never sets. You know the saying, you know the math. So when I'm getting a full moon at the 180 degree mark, let's say at 1:30 in the morning, across the ocean in Singapore, it's high noon for them. The sun never sets. Think about sunrise and sunset. And if you are a sunrise or a sunset believer, what are you flushing down the loo, so to speak? Yes, your perspective on the earth. You're actually supporting the world's view and the Roman Catholic view of the perspective of the earth. Think upon that, please. I'm not going to get into that here and now. So let's take a look at 5 months, starting from the 5th month all the way to the 8th month, which we have tested, proven, and verified with film and photograph footage all over Earth. And then we're going to go into the 9th month because, again, this is basic if you trust the writings of Hanok. So let's start off with the 5th month, which was Shavuot, the final day of Shavuot, which was on the pagan day of Friday, August 12th. And no one debated this. It was nice and smooth. Everybody was on the same page. So let's take a look at it. So here we go. In this model, it is based on the prophet known as YaHUaH, known today as Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23. Yes, we number each and every one of our days, not just New Moon Day, from new moon to new moon and Sabbath to Sabbath. And we number them in such a way that we know the dawn when it starts in advance and we verify it. Remember, all of these numbers you see here are from timeanddate.com. They've already been verified. They've already been approved. They've already been tested. If any of these numbers were incorrect, time and date would be called out. And these have been verified from the app in the heavens with the sun, moon, and stars from our Father of Lights, YaHUaH himself. This is what it means to wait. Yes, wait upon YaHUaH. So at the end of the day, we are very knowledgeable of the mechanics of the sun itself. At the dawn, sunrise, its position, and sunset, same thing, time and position, let alone moonset, moonrise, the time and position to true north and its position above the horizon, let alone at the 180 degree mark, the time, the position to the horizon, and its percent illumination, along with other countries. So a restored moon, and we're looking at now, we're going from the 5th to the 6th month. We knew the 4th month well in advance was going to be a 29-day month, and we knew why the first day of the 5th month was going to be on the pagan day of Friday, August 12th. We knew the moonset, moonrise, dawn, sunrise, sunset, and we knew the percent illumination at the 180 degree mark. And based on Hanok's 15 parts of a waning moon, we knew that the 15th day would be the pagan day of Friday, August 26th. And we knew that that conjunction phase experience would begin. Here we are at the 180 mark at 12:59 p.m. my time. It was 0.6%. It was still waning. And then it got to its 0% mark, 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds in that phase of time. It went to conjunction, and then it started to wax at 0.3%. And it was the same in all other countries. So this is how we knew to trust Hanok in his 15 parts. That is the previous scriptural study video. Now it's going to wax. It's going to be restored, if you will. And focusing on the 22nd day, we knew in that 5th month, the pagan day of Friday, September 2nd, was that Sabbath, the 3rd Sabbath of that month. And the moon is waxing now. It's at 40.9 at 6:19 p.m. It's above the horizon by 23.4. And through that 23-hour, 56-minute, 4.09 second true day, it's going to go past its percent mark of that, what they call a quarter moon. We call it a half moon. And the same can be seen here in these other countries. So this is why we trust Hanok. So that's the 5th to the 6th month. Now remember, this is what it means to wait on YaHUaH, not with a jig. You're actually using all of the days with all of the light, sun, moon, and stars with each of its measures. You're not guessing. You're relying on YaHUaH. You're waiting on YaHUaH. You're not relying on a man-made jig that hangs on a wall or in a calendar that people buy at a store. So again, many of these calendars exist, right? Here they are. And you open them up to any given month. And as you can see, I'm sharing this with you now. It has, there's the quarter moon right there and so forth. If you use a jig, you're going to run into challenges 2 to 3 times a year. And it's that basic. This is not rocket science. So here we are now looking at the 6th to the 7th month. And we knew that the 6th month would be a 29-day month as well. And we knew that the pagan day of Saturday, September 10th, was New Moon Day based on all of those witnesses, including the percent illumination from a 29-day month to this particular first day of the 6th month. 15 parts later, we knew that the moon on the pagan day of Saturday, the 15th day, which was the pagan day of Saturday, September 24th, was still in its waning phase at 12:23 p.m., where the moon hit the 180 mark at 54.2 degrees above the horizon, and it was still waning. And within that 23-hour, 56-minute, 4.09 second true day, as Hanok knew, and the Book of Jubilees, it was going to wane further, hit the 0% mark, and then start its waxing phase. And then the 22nd day, take a look, where it hits its 37.8 and then gets to that 50% range, as you can see here. Now, if you chose with a jig September 11th, take a look. That means you'd start at 0.1% to 0.8. You missed the phase where the moon wanes and then begins its waxing. You're in your waxing phase if you went to the Sunday, September 11th. That's how basic this is to explain. So there's that 22nd day again. So let's now go to the 7th to the 8th month. And as we know, the 7th month was Yom Teruah. We knew it was a 30-day month because of all of those witnesses again. And the percent illumination of the moon. We walk in the light. The lamp is the Word. The Word is the Lamb. And we're going to talk about that further in this scriptural study video. So as you can see, that very basic. Hanok's 15 parts. There we are again. It's waning. Here we are at 12:29 p.m. just before the 15th day. It's at 0.7%, and it's going to wane further. And within that 23-hour, 56-minute, 4.09 second time period for a true scriptural day, it experiences its conjunction and starts the waxing phase. 15 parts, just like Hanok taught us. There's the 22nd day. So stop the video. Please take a look at this. Now let's take a look at the 8th to the 9th month. We knew the 7th month was a 29-day month. And going into the 8th month, we knew on the pagan day of Tuesday, November 8th, it was New Moon Day, which was a lunar eclipse. And we had film and photograph footage from everywhere all over Earth. 15 parts later, the moon was still waning, and through that 23-hour, 56-minute, and 4.09 second time period, measuring at the 180 mark, it experienced full waning to conjunction and going into the waxing mode, as we can see here. Now, if you picked incorrectly the Wednesday and you rejected the sign of the lunar eclipse, notice you're in the waxing phase starting here. You're no longer experiencing the full and complete completion of the waning and then going into the waxing. You're starting from a waxing moon. So it's very easy to explain, and all the way to the 22nd day, this is why the quarter moon. We know that the pagan day today is the 29th day. Today is the third Sabbath of the 8th month. It's that basic. Why do I know this? Because the moon at the 180 mark will be here at 28.3 at 42.8. So this evening, it'll be 42.8. Still waning. But through the night period, it'll get to its position. And by the end of that 23-hour, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds, it'll be at 54.4. Now, if you decided on the next day, tomorrow as being your Sabbath, look what happens. You miss that quarter moon entirely. Stop the video and look at the other countries. You miss it. This is why this is so easy to explain to anyone. And by the way, again, for the crescent, whether it's first crescent or last crescent or conjunction or solar only, this is why you struggle so much. This is why so much debate. This is why the confidence. This is not my calculation. That has nothing to do with me. And the other Bereans that do this has nothing to do with them. This is from the Father of Lights as described by the writings of Moses, because it matches Moses' writings, and it matches Hanok's writings. Well, let's talk about the month that's coming, because this is a forecast. And we're now going from the 8th to the 9th month. And we do know that it's a 30-day month. The 8th month's a 30-day month. For the same reasons again. It's not rocket science. So take a look. In my area, EST time zone, the moon will greet the sun at sunrise on the pagan day, the first day of the 8th month, on the pagan day of Thursday, December 8th. And it'll greet the sun at sunrise at its highest illumination. The same with Jerusalem, Israel, Anaheim, California, Memphis, Tennessee, but it won't at the sunrise in Cape Town, South Africa, or Perth, Australia. So again, the witness of the moon greeting the sun at sunrise, it's a great witness, but it's not the end-all, do-all witness. But if you're looking at the full illumination, the restoration process, the waxing process of Hanok, and the dawn true day start of any scriptural day, you'll notice that we're all on the same page. It is indeed for everyone, everywhere, new moon day, the first day of the 9th month, on the pagan day of Thursday, December 8th, 2022, commencing at the dawn. It's that basic. And this is why the psalmist had stated, if you take a look at all of these witnesses, and remember, this is just the sun and the moon. When you apply the stars to this, this is why we say we are 1,000,000,000% confident, because it lines up to everything. And it has nothing to do with a human being and a jig. These are actual numbers. There's no guessing involved. So this is why the heavens are indeed proclaiming the esteem of the Almighty Father of lights, YaHUaH himself. And this is why we wait upon YaHUaH, because his witnesses are wonders, as the psalmist had stated, because day to day does indeed pour forth speech, and night to night does indeed reveal knowledge. So when you use this information, remember, Proverbs, the book of truth, Mishlei, a fool does not delight in understanding, but only in airing his opinions. This is not my opinion. Anybody that does this is relying on the Father of lights and the witnesses of light that he provides to tell time. Now, a fool, this is not saying a person that doesn't do this work is a fool. It just is stating that the individual does not see the value in this, in numbering each and every day and understanding the mechanics and the sun, let alone the moon, let alone the stars. They air their opinions with jigs. Again, pride is concerned with who is right. We're beyond that. Your witnesses are wonders, so my being observes them. This is why we observe what unites us, because humility is concerned with what is right for everyone, everywhere. Should the witnesses of light divide and unite? Some people, let's divide. Some people have that focus, right? They get up in the morning and they try to test and disprove, rather than getting up in the morning, shakar bakar, to test and prove what unites us with the sun, moon, and stars. Again, we're not judging anybody. We went through this. And there's so much more to learn. Finally, some people are saying, well, these are fancy, flashy presentations. Well, no, there are details. There's nothing flashy about the details. This is actual data that has been tested and proven and verified. Now, if you think these presentations are crisp and clear with a lot of information, yes, we do this out of honor, respect, joy, healthy limits, love, goodness in regards to respecting the Father of lights and what he provides to tell time. That's why we do such work. We don't just do one little meme with maybe one little verse and there's no explanation. If you're looking for a watered down version that hangs on a wall with a jig, there are many of them. And by the way, we are embarrassed because we did the very same thing. But this is baby steps. You'll eventually come away from the jigs and all its various forms. And then there's some folks that just want to rule over you. And they want to hate you for doing this work. But the Messiah, YaHUaH, stated what? In Lucas chapter 6, verse 27, verse 28. But I say to you who are hearing, love your enemies. Do good to those hating you. Bless those, or Baruch you, those who are cursing you, and pray for those insulting you. Again, if you're going to insult me or any other individual for being so detailed to learn the actual finite, minute magnificence of all of this timing piece with the sun, moon, and stars, well then, you're really not insulting me or anybody else that does this work. You're actually insulting yourself. So this is why we'll continue to love you. And we'll do good by providing this information month after month as long as we are allowed to remain alive. Remember, all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. And third, it is accepted as being self-evident. And again, we have no delusions. We're not egotistical. We're not narcissists. At the end of the day, we're not going to restore this. This information is clear. It's precise. YaHUaH, through his firstborn of all creation, the Messiah Yahushua, and his 144, will restore this in due process. So for now, we don't strive with the flesh. We just provide the information. Now, if you want to strive with the lights and how they work and the mechanics, and you want to have a discussion in this methodology, great. We will be loving Bereans and definitely enjoy and delight in doing this work. But if you want to air your opinion with a man-made jig that hangs on a wall, please respect the fact that we are done with that. And hallelujah that we have been given the full armor of the Almighty YaHUaH to have the power to stand against the schemes of the devil. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, world religions, the beast, the principalities, against authorities, self-proclaimed teachers. We're not teachers. We just do studies. That's all we do. And these studies are against the world rulers of darkness of this age. They don't want this light to be known. They don't want you to number your days like this every day to know that it aligns with Moses' writings, Hanok's writings, etc. The world doesn't want this. Again, we're against the spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. So take the fight, if there is going to be a fight, not against the flesh. It's a waste of time. It's just a vicious cycle. Get into the virtuous cycle of taking the good fight against the principalities. Share this information. You can't counteract it. So we tried this with solar Zadokite-only approaches. Doesn't work. We tried this with the two options of first crescent, last crescent, sunrise, sunset scenarios. Doesn't work. We tried this with conjunction. Doesn't work. Soon as we learned Emmet, the solar-powered new moon, and then we learned later on dawn day start, and then we learned later on in baby steps how the moon rules with the stars, and a specific set of stars for each and every month, then all of this came together. How much more are we going to learn if we continue to delight in all of the witnesses of light? So remember, for the esteem of YaHUaH, the Almighty Father of lights, lightened it. Lighten what? The lesser light. The Lamb is his lamp. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The psalmist knew that the lesser light, the light on a lampstand, the Messiah YaHUaH, reflects his Father's light, the greater light. And we know that the light rises upon her at the dawn, first light, Bakar Shakar, in the fourth watch, all the way to sunrise, where we can see the signs for each and every given month. Again, if you're into Syzygy, or Syzygy, as some people pronounce it, it's a Babylonian methodology proven by the historical and archaeological record. It's been transferred over, regrettably, to even the full moon believers, and in some cases, other things. But it's totally unnecessary. And remember, the prophet further said, YaHUaH, in chapter 55, verses 8 through 9, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares YaHUaH. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." This is man's thoughts, horizontal, looking down at the horizon, and not looking up at the light at the lampstand. So very basic to share. So in summary, let's stay away from presumptuous ones with jigs. Now again, we don't judge anybody. We believe everyone is better than us, as per the writings of Shaul. And some people are in those baby steps, just like we were. We're not better than anyone else. Again, we're sharing more information, which gives you more light. So again, we don't want to be ruled over crescent, conjunction, horizontal viewpoints. Again, the moon grading the sun at sunrise is a great witness, but it's not the end-all do witness, as we have seen. And 2 to 3 times a year, it becomes problematic, as everyone is experiencing. And you can get away from that by seeing a true dawn day start, let alone understand the rest of the witnesses of light, including the 180 witness and so forth, along with Hanok's waning and waxing counts. You'd be glad that you did. So remember, discernment is so important as long as you don't add or take away from the witnesses of light, which the presumptuous ones always do, with jigs. So trust in YaHUaH with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Remember, we used to use jigs as well. You've seen it on the Scriptural YouTube channel, and we've shared it since 2013, and we've talked about this from that time period in that revolution, not an evolution, a revolution of learning in regards to utilizing all three witnesses of light and the specific witnesses of each of them that help us to number our days. But if you lean on your own understanding, you'll still be using jigs that hang on a wall, and it is what it is. We're at peace. We're not going to strive with the flesh. We're going to share the information in a loving manner for the well-being of each and every one of us. So at the end of the day, welcome to Hanok's Waxing Moon. And it's a great study. There's much more to this, as always, and it's something that we continue to cover in the workshops. So until next time, may the Father of Lights, YaHUaH himself, the only self-existent one, continue to keep and guard you and your loved ones. And yes, may the Messiah, YaHUaH, the lesser light, the one that cried out to his Father, Shua, for his deliverance, the greater light, may he be in each and every one of us as we move forward to study scriptural words, names in the law, including the calendar. Have a YAHsome Sabbath, everyone, on this 22nd day of the 8th month on the celestial clock and calendar of YaHUaH. Hallelujah.